All right, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let's Bet It. I'm Alex Glaze, joined by Jared Smith. Jared, we have a lot to get to today, but before we get into the sports, there's so many sports going on. We got some beef. We had a little Twitter beef yesterday. Lauren Jabara started this beef. What's your problem with candy corn? What's your problem? I want to just enjoy. It's fall. Halloween is almost here. You know, I want a little candy corn. What's your beef with candy corn?
So it's not a beef, it's a candy, right? We have to dress it properly. No, listen, I think I'm not a candy shamer because I've had many nights on my couch where I'm just crushing whatever sweets are in my apartment. So I don't want to shame anyone for the type of candy they eat. But if you had to rank them, and I would put candy corn to me at the absolute bottom of the list. I don't know if it's candy. Is it really candy? It tastes it's sweet, but it's like kind of texture-ish. I don't know.
Are we talking Halloween candy or are we talking like all-time candy? Because I think there's a big difference when you're ranking
That's fair. I think I'll rephrase because I'm assuming we don't have a lot of children listening to this show. It's a 21 and older show, so I would hope not. But if you're a parent and you're getting ready to set up your Halloween, smorgasbord of what you're going to give out to the kids, it may be best to leave candy corn out because it is such a highly polarizing candy. Odds are half of the people you give it out to are going to hate it. And why would you do that? Maybe choose a candy that's more higher,
and the other half are right. The other half are right.
That's fair. Listen, no candy shaming here. Everyone enjoy your sweets however you choose.
I put the pumpkin-shaped candy corns over the regular candy corns.
Is there a difference in the way they taste? I thought candy corn were tasting like pumpkins to begin with.
No. It's like a marshmallow, but you need like the pumpkin-shaped ones. That's where the money is. That's how you know.
Now we're at the advanced level here. That's
how you know you're living right here. Yeah. All right. Well, like I said, we have a lot to get to. So on today's card, we got some college football picks coming from me. We're doing pretty well with college football. Just a little humble brag there. And then we're going to talk some Thursday night football with our guy, Jim Monis. And then, of course, we're going to finish things off with our play of the day. So without further ado, let's bet it. And let's start with college football. I am going to start with 4 games that I like this weekend. And you just kind of tell me what you're thinking as we talk about these. This is probably my favorite play of the entire weekend right here. And it's going back to the well, I think, because I was talking about Clemson, Syracuse last week, and I gave out Syracuse plus 13.5. This week, Clemson, for the first time in a long time, I don't even remember can you remember the last time Clemson was catching points?
No,
in the regular season.
It must have been Bama.
ACC play?
Yeah, it must have been Bama when they were in the final, right?
I'm talking about regular season ACC play, catching points. Like it's been a long.
Not in the Dabo, Trevor Lawrence most recent era.
We probably have to go back.
Deshaun Watson. Pre Deshaun Watson, I would say.
It's been a long time, but Clemson catching 3.5 points on the road at Pitt, and I'm gonna lay the points with Pitt. It's my favorite play of the weekend. Pitt, obviously one of the most explosive offenses in college football right now. I think they have the 3rd highest scoring offense in college football. And I really like their quarterback, Kenny Pickett. One of the best quarterbacks in college football right now. I think he's a little underrated. I think this might be a game that puts him on the map when we talk potential Heisman, maybe, because it's so wide open that he's got the numbers if you look it up there. And Pitt's offense is just absolutely rolling. And what's the problem Clemson's had all season long?
Scoring
offense, right?
Yeah.
So I think that this Pitt offense is going to give Brett Venables a lot of trouble, and I just like laying the 3.5 points. I was talking with one of my friends, and they still don't get it. He's taking points with Clemson, and I'm just like, no, you're not paying attention here. Like,
a lot of people are, and I'm glad the line's priced right.
The name recognition is still Clemson.
100%. And I'm glad it's priced right, because if it was priced the other way, people would be making a drastic error. Like, if Clemson's name recognition was still giving them the respect for them to be favored in this spot, then Pittsburgh would be hands down probably one of the highest bet sides of the week. But because it's opposite, and because Clemson is getting a plus sign next to their name, which they rarely ever get, as you mentioned, that's why the money is coming in on Clemson. At least we're early stages of the week, still Thursday. I would say tomorrow, Friday night into Saturday morning is when the college handle really picks up. But I'm seeing a lot of the action come in on Clemson early stages. The numbers do not make sense. Clemson's offense is dreadful, and Pitt's defense has been pretty good. They're top 40 in opponent yards per play. the Clemson defense is what is going to either win them or lose them this game. If Clemson's defense can keep Kenny Pickett in, relative good terms, that's where I think Clemson can have an edge in this game. I cannot bet Clemson, though, right now. Even though the lines move to a point where you can consider betting them, I still am a little hesitant right now to bet Clemson. So I think Pitt's the only side I would consider here.
I would agree with you if I didn't see how Pitt just did Virginia Tech last week.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like the Virginia Tech's defense.
Yeah, and that was on the road
there.
at Lane
Not
Stadium.
A bad defense there, exactly. And they went and absolutely shredded Virginia Tech. I mean, so I'm going to roll with the hot hand. I'm going to roll with Pitt. So that's my favorite play of the weekend. This one is my favorite. Hold your nose and just kind of just roll with it pick. Mississippi State at Vanderbilt, and I'm going to take the 20.5 points and go with the Commodores. Listen, this isn't the explosive Mike Leach-led offense that we have been accustomed to over the past couple of years here. This Mississippi State offense is very middle of the road. I don't want to say average, but not a lot of explosive plays, right? They do a lot of dinking and dunking and just not a lot of big chunk plays, a lot of medium yardage pickups here, and that's kind of how they operate here. So I can see this being kind of a lower scoring game because we know Vanderbilt really isn't. I mean, they're not going to bring much to the table here. And they both play at a fairly moderate pace when we talk about, present day college football, both ranking kind of middle of the road in the 60s and 80s. I think it was when we're talking about pace of play here. The total's at 51, which is not high, not low. So I think I'm just going to take the 20.5 points and the big thing for me also, when I look at the Bulldogs quarterback, Will Rogers, dealing with a shoulder injury, injured his shoulder against Alabama. So I'm just kind of taking all those things and I'm going to take the points because I think that Vandy can keep this within 3 touchdowns. That's a lot of points.
It certainly is. You're right about the plays per game. Vanderbilt and Mississippi or Mississippi State are both Mississippi State runs at a little bit of a faster tempo, but Vanderbilt's relatively slow. I don't understand how a 20-point spread can be had for Mississippi State, though, considering they're only averaging 24 points per game. I mean, that's
a lot about Vanderbilt. It says a lot about Vanderbilt.
It is. And the total's 50.5, 51. I saw a couple 52s. Low spread or low total, high spread games. I would lean favorite just because, again, that's just like a stereotype of like overall low total, high spread games. The favorite tends to be graded really high because they're just not giving any chance for the underdog to score. I think it's tough to lay with Mississippi State, though. Based on the numbers I'm looking at here, their yards per play is very average. But again, what can Vanderbilt bring to the table is the question. The market agrees with you so far. 22.5 opening number, now 20.5. So market agrees with you. Vanderbilt's definitely getting the majority of the early handle. And I would certainly agree with this play. I could not lay on the road. Not never. I don't want to say never. But I could not this week lay on the road with Mississippi State. Not that many points.
While we're talking about laying points, I need to bring up Mark Stoops, who, why did he do that to me last week? Why did he do that to me last week? 21.5 is what I laid with Georgia. I was feeling great.
Tough game.
I mean,
you weren't on the wrong side of that game. It's just the numbers just didn't work out.
Calling timeout with 3 seconds. I mean, my handicap for Georgia games was literally, can this team score 2 touchdowns? No.
And that was it.
Lay the points. Like, that's what this is gonna be. But I don't want to get in there. He had me sending out an out of character tweet, calling him out of his just come on. Mark Stoops, don't do that to me. I don't like that. All right. I'm going to get into 2 more games here. We got Lauren Jabbar would love these picks that I'm about to give out. Don't tell her I'm putting these out here because I might. Don't tell her.
You guys got to keep your rivalry going, the Jets and the Sharks.
Yeah, we got to keep this going.
You guys got a little edge about you.
Yeah, so I don't want her to know that I'm.
You don't want to be nice to her this week, huh?
USC at Notre Dame. Notre Dame laying 6.5 points, and I'm going to lay the 6.5 points with Notre Dame here. And my reason being, I think this is going to come down whether or not Brian Kelly can take the ball out of whichever quarterback is in there. I don't care which quarterback plays. They just need to run the ball. right? This needs to just be all about Kyron Williams and him just pounding the rock, because USC's rush defense is not great at all. Their offense is very one-dimensional, so it's really going to come down to whether or not USC, or whether or not Notre Dame, can run the ball, and whether or not they can stop, what's his name? Drake. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Drake London. That's the USC receiver. Get this. Has half of his quarterback's yards this year. Half.
Wow.
Literally a one-dimensional offense. So can they stop Drake London? Can they run the ball? I like Notre Dame's defense, and I would hope Brian Kelly is thinking along the same lines I'm thinking. What do you think about that? USC's not great.
No, USC struggled at times this year. I think they're in a massive rebuilding mode from the ground up because they just don't know what's going to happen with the head coach. And, the talent at USC is unbelievable. This is a game that they usually do manage up for because I know this is a rivalry game. I would assume that at other times when USC has looked a little bit, lost in the woods, deer in headlights, I guess, a lot of games this year. This is a game you would expect them to bring. Yeah, and the Pac-12 doesn't have a lot of marquee games this year because they don't have really any, I don't think, marquee teams except maybe Oregon or UCLA, which those teams will play this Saturday, which will be fun. But I think overall USC has not shown that oomph, that fire. Maybe this is the game where they do. Market agrees with you. Everyone's on Notre Dame right now, 6.5 to 7. It's like over 70% of the tickets. But again, it's only Thursday, so I don't want to go too crazy with the ticket count or the handle because usually the public will step in on Friday night, Saturday morning, and they'll start to move these splits pretty significantly. But I will say this. If there was a team that Notre Dame would be able to run, they haven't been able to run on a lot of teams this year. They are only averaging 2.7 yards per rush. They're in the bottom 10 of college football teams FBS
If there was a team they should be able to run the ball against,
you would think it's Notre Dame, or you would think it's USC, who's in the bottom half of yards allowed on the ground per game, 4.5 yards per rush per game allowed. So that's where I would say the advantage might be. If Notre Dame can figure out a rushing attack, it would be against USC. But overall, I struggle to lay 7 with an offense like the Irish. That's big picture. That would be my initial thought on this game. But I can't fault you for the handicap because they're at home.
6.5, not 7. 6.5.
That's a key number. That's important. And I think that's why you're on the right side of the market right now.
Right now, for now. Last one. And I don't really – I think I like this one more than the Notre Dame – if I had to rank them, I think Notre Dame USC is probably 4th.
Ranking them is good because that helps.
Yeah,
I would absolutely rank them if you.
Yeah, my favorite play is the Pitt game.
Okay.
And then I probably would follow that with this one, and then Vandy, and then Notre Dame. And by this one, I'm gonna lay. This is a huge number, right? 23.5.
Wow.
Michigan at home. Laying that big number against Northwestern, right? Big Ten game, big number, but this is not the Northwestern team that we have seen over the past couple of years. And you, as someone who keeps a close eye on the Big Ten, I'm sure you have recognized that as well. Middle of the road offense at best, bad defense, the worst rush defense in the Big Ten. And what does Michigan finally have? An identity. They play defense. They're going to run the ball down your throat. And I just think that this is the perfect spot for Michigan at home as they're in the middle of this. Are they a playoff team? Are they not? This is a statement game for Jim Harbaugh and Michigan to let everyone know that they're for real. And it's going to come down to Michigan or Ohio State repping the Big Ten in the college football playoff. That's just how I view this game. And I think that this is a big spot for them.
I'll say that Penn State still has a chance to wreck those proceedings. Next week, we'll talk about that game next week. This week, I agree with you. Michigan is poised. Didn't they have a weird game against Northwestern recently? Was it last year? Was it 2 years? I'm looking at their schedule now.
If it was at Northwestern, it doesn't count. We know the grass. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, they had that really weird game back in 2018 where they won by a field goal on the road, and that was the year that Michigan was almost, unbeaten after, they lost that opening game to Notre Dame, and then they were 10-1 going into the Ohio State game and got blasted. And that was their closest game besides getting beat by Notre Dame. Their closest game that year was at Northwestern. So there is a bit of a weird history. Now, granted, nothing in 2018 matters for this game, so I don't want to, compare those handicaps. Sure. But I feel like Northwestern and Michigan played some weird games in the past, and I guess I was right about that.
Are you getting a weird feeling about this one?
No, I'm not. I agree with your handicap here, and that's because the numbers really speak to what you're saying. Michigan's offensive line and their rushing attack should have a lot of success in this game. I would be surprised if they didn't. Northwestern is 103rd in opponent yards per play. They're 123rd. It's only 130 teams in the FBS at opponent yards per rush. They do not do well against teams that can run the ball. Michigan, that's pretty much their bread and butter. So, and on the other side, Michigan's defense, Northwestern's just gotten blasted in a couple of moments this year. And I just don't see them having any kind of firepower to be able to keep up. I mean, they just lost 56-7 to Nebraska a few weeks ago. And that's Nebraska.
And what was Nebraska able to do? Lean on that run. Lean on the run game. Just lean on it.
I think Michigan now, maybe it won't be 56-7, but I could see a score similar to that playing out.
All right, so you're with me on 3 of the 4 picks. USC, Notre Dame, that's to be determined.
That's the one that I'm a little bit hesitant on. But I would still lay it though. I would still take the points in that in USC if it was 7. 6.5.
Okay.
I probably
6.5. All right, let's switch gears and talk about tonight's Thursday night football game. We got a barn burner, and we're gonna bring in our friend Jim Monis, former front office exec in the NFL and former NFL scout. Jim, great game tonight, huh?
Yeah, you guys had me on for the candy corn game of the weekend.
Oh, come on, don't do that.
I'm not saying anything bad about it. The only thing with candy corn, the breakdown on candy corn for me, it's just a little plasticky. It has that plastic feel to it. It doesn't make me feel like I'm eating sweet candy.
I love the Scout. Always a scout, Jim.
Always got to break down everything.
Always a scout.
But you know what time of year it is. It's a certain sense of nostalgia. It reminds you what time of year it is.
I'll agree with that. I agree with that.
A simpler time, a happier time. You're never in a bad mood eating candy corn.
Well, that's where I draw the line. That's where I'll stop it. I'll stop it right there.
I was going to give it, and then no.
You had me, and then you didn't have me.
Yeah. All right, well, Jim, we got a game tonight. That's what I'll say about it. We got Broncos at the Browns, and there are a ton of injuries on both sides here. The Browns obviously dealing with a lot more on the injury front, but we don't know if Teddy Bridgewater is going to be able to go for the Broncos tonight, and obviously that would be a big deal. So how do you approach this game from a gambling perspective? Do you just kind of wait and see until almost kickoff to put your plays in?
Well, if you're going to try to go heavy on this game, you're crazy. And yes, you would have to wait until you know exactly who's playing. But the one thing we do know is Case Keenum has a relationship with Stefanski, the head coach for the Browns. Yep. And that's a good sign on a short week like this for a backup quarterback like Keenum, who is a good backup. He knows the offense. And I'm telling you guys, these guys are all professionals. They rally hard around a backup quarterback on a short week, especially. I've been in situations in Buffalo. We had guys like Jeff Toole would quarterback back in the 2015 coming in, 14 coming in playing, and our team would just rally around these guys. So what you are going to see is an incredible effort from Cleveland tonight. I really do believe that.
Yeah, we might see some effort. We're going to see some backup tackles maybe too.
That's the part where I have to.
And the third string running backs, and it's just
so
maybe
the running back
receivers out just
So let's talk about Dearness Johnston, the running back for Cleveland tonight. I was in the AAF a couple of years ago, and he was a really good player for Orlando. And it's funny. He's just, I describe him just like I was talking about Cleveland rallying tonight. He is tough. Like, he's not the fastest. He's not the quickest. He's got great hands. He loves football. He's going to give them everything he's got tonight too. So you're going to get, like I said, are they talented enough to win tonight is going to be the question. But I do think there's a way to play Cleveland tonight if you have the guts to do it.
All right. Well, let's get into some plays. You got a couple here.
Yeah.
What you got? What's on your card right now?
So I'm going with that under in the first half at 20.5. it's hard to picture these teams coming out just going up and down the field on each other. I think it's going to be a feel out process a little bit. Let's not get crazy. Let's not take too many chances down the field. So I do like the under in that first half. I also like Austin Hooper for an anytime touchdown tonight. Sometimes you get that veteran tight end, that a backup quarterback like Keenum, who's a veteran. Those guys like to stick together sometimes. They look for each other. So I'm kind of maybe, and they're going to have a different game plan tonight. We don't know what we're going to see from the Browns. It's a whole new offense. So maybe Stefanski's going to say, hey, everybody knows about Njoku. Let's get Hooper a little more involved. And then the other thing I'm going to play tonight, if Bridgewater's playing, is I think he's going to throw a pick over, a half. It's set at 0.5. He's not, since his injury, he's thrown 4 picks the last 2 weeks. He's looked a little loose, how I like to say it. He's making some uncharacteristic like Bridgewater throws where he's just letting it loose. And so those are my prop plays. Like I said, if you play this game and you want to take Cleveland, you're going for the rah-rah, rally type thing, but you can't sit there and base it off it's a whole new offense.
Yeah. Okay. I like those plays. Jared, what you got?
So this is a really tough game. Obviously, Jim, pointed out why. I'll explain my process and how I got to the Broncos kind of conclusion. So I was not playing this game at all until about noon-ish Wednesday when the Baker news dropped. I immediately went market hunting to see if any books were slow to move the number. I saw two books still at 3.5 up there about 20 or 30 minutes after the Baker news dropped. So I grabbed both of those. And that was a firm play for me. No Baker, Teddy in the saddle, 3 in the hook with a good Broncos defense in a low total game was a solid play for me. Then later in the day, after the line moved to like 2, then we heard the Teddy news that really scared me. Because if it's Drew Lock, forget it. Forget it. You cannot put your money on Drew Lock on the road against the good Browns defense. You just can't do it. So here's my advice. If you were able to get Broncos 3.5 early, and you hear later it's Teddy out, Lock in, I would sell. And I would wash my hands of this game. I would take, your 10% loss on the juice, and I would buy the other side. I would buy Cleveland or just cash the bet out, whatever your sportsbook lets you do. If Teddy does play and it's still 2.5 game time, which I would expect it to close 2.5, I think I would hold the +3, and I would maybe, try to either come off of it at some point during the game. If Teddy does, as Jim says, look a little loose, and you get a good glimpse of that early on based on what calls they're making, if they're giving Melvin Gordon a lot of love or if they're letting Teddy throw it. I thought Patrick and Sutton have filled in nicely for Hamler and Judy. So I'm not worried about the Broncos' offensive weapons too much. No. Gordon's looked great. No offensive beast. But I'm concerned if Teddy is loose and if this Broncos offense revolves around him and they got to go to Drew Lock, that's where I just want nothing to do with this game. So this is a very tricky spot. Keep an eye on the wires, close to things. And if the total does move, Jack just said the total's moved to 40.5, could be wind and rain, but also that could be because they found out it's Drew Lock and it's not Teddy Bridgewater. So I'll be honest, the more this game moves closer to nighttime, the less excited I am to bet it. And I'll probably I would assume I'll be coming off my Denver bet at some point tonight, just if I had to pick. So I'm not really interested in betting the spread if it's not Teddy Bridgewater. Under 7.5 first quarter, we don't bet a lot of first quarter unders this year. It's a play that I look at a lot with these kind of weird games. And now if the total is moving down, I think you might only be able to get 7. I wouldn't play it at 7. 7.5 is my dividing line for first quarter unders. But that would be a fun way to play it if you just want to get in and get out and move on after the first quarter's over. Because I agree, this game might be the candy corn game of the year. It really might be.
All right, well, you guys are gonna love my first play here. It's
I do like this one
with the weird game. You gotta start things off with a weird prop. So first drive result punt, and that is minus 150 on FanDuel. I don't care if it's Case Keenum, Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater. I don't care who you throw out there. That first drive is going to end in a punt or a turnover. It is what it is. So I think I'm going to put my money on punt. First drive is still scripted. I don't think we're gonna see a turnover here, but it's gonna be your classic nasty run pass punt. Like that's what it's gonna be.
Very possible.
So that's what I like, especially if we're talking rain, wind, nasty. Just I like that for my first play. My second play, sneaky. sneaky interesting, but I haven't really been great with NFL props this year. So maybe this is too good to be true. Melvin Gordon, longest reception, over 8.5 yards. He's gone over that number in 4-6 games, and he's getting 2, 3, 4 targets each game this season. So if it is Drew Lock or if it's Teddy, he's going to be that safety blanket, and just dump it to him. And 8.5 yards. If you're asking me if he can get 9 yards, sure, he's done it for. Why not? So I'm going to roll with that. That's what do you guys think about that? That's my second play.
Don't mind it.
Yeah, I like it because Gordon has that big play factor in him. As soon as he gets the ball,
Gordon's looked good.
Yeah,
Gordon's looked really good.
It has nothing to do with him also being on my fantasy team. Absolutely nothing. Like,
there's no bias there.
There's no bias.
This is a really weird game from a betting perspective. First of all, the total is now one of the lowest totals of the year. I saw 39 with that Texans-Pats game a couple weeks ago. Low totals mean not a lot of touchdowns, not a lot of yards, which makes it very hard to bet props if you like to bet the overs. So immediately, if you see any numbers that are a little higher than usual, I would bet under just because of where the total. Sometimes when the total drops, it takes longer for the prop market to drop with it. So with the total dropping, now there might be some under opportunities with props. But again, you can't just bet them all because you're going to get killed on the juice. But I do think the under, if you're an over prop better, which most people are, this is the night to not do that strategy. This is the night to either not bet props or look to the unders, because with a low total like that, the books are telling you there's not going to be a lot of points in this game, which means inherently there won't be a lot of yards.
If you are betting under 40.5, you are a glutton for punishment that I can't.
It might be 0-0 at halftime and you feel great.
I can't even relate to. Because listen, I love a good under about 40.5. Woo.
Jim, is there a point tonight where, and I'm curious, if they start Teddy and then he looks, as you say, loose, is there a point that even if he's healthy enough to play, they would go to Drew Lock?
I don't think so, unless he's just playing that poorly. But I think if he's ready to play, he's their guy. Like, I really do believe that. I don't think they're trying to pull him quick tonight. No.
All right. Well,
this is a tough game. This is a tough game to catch.
Hey, I know. Are you guys gonna really watch it?
Yeah,
I'm watching baseball tonight.
That's what I'm going to watch.
Alex has a play of the day in the MLB, so his attention span will be much directed towards another direction. But you have multiple screens, right? I have 2 screens. You can put 2 games on.
Right. I got multiple screens, and I can tell you that I'm going to be watching one game tonight. Maybe I'll be checking Twitter, or maybe if something interesting happens, or
I'll be hitting you up once Melvin Gordon rush off that 50-yard reception in the first game.
I say that. You know what? I'll put this on the second.
You're going to have – come on. You're having this game on.
You know where this ranks? This is going to go on the second screen that has YouTube TV, so I'm going to be on the delay.
I will wait at least 2 minutes after a big play to text you if something happens.
The Braves game will be getting the live cable.
Fair enough.
They'll be getting that. The NFL will be getting the YouTube TV delay for the first time probably this season. Over baseball. Brutal. But Jim, as always, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate your insights and good luck with your plays tonight.
Thanks. Good luck, Alex, on that street play of the day.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Before we get into our personal plays, Jared, is there a 3-star play on the website that you like to give out for our Pickswise play of the day?
There is. Hold on. I had it here. I thought I put it in the rundown, but I guess it didn't refresh properly. Oh, it's because I didn't click my thing. Sure. Matt Weisenfeld is on the Hawks laying 2.5 against the Mavs. So keep an eye on that play. I think his nickname is Wise Guy that we call him on the Pickswise website. So that is an NBA play tonight, laying 2 in the hook. Atlanta against Dallas. And then our buddy Andrew Wilshire from across the pond, putting in a play for the NFL tonight. You're not going to get this number anymore, but he is on the under in this Browns-Broncos game. He got 42.5. That's what's posted on the Pickswise site. I don't know if he still likes it at 40.5. I can ping him later and ask him, but I would assume the more this drops, the more to be honest with you, when a total drops this significantly, there's a reason why. And I'm assuming it's either the rain or the wind, or it's Bridgewater is not healthy enough to play, which means my afternoon is going to be very busy trying to arbitrage out of this Broncos plus 3.5 game. But those are the 2 3-star plays today. Hawks minus 2.5 and Broncos Browns under 42 in the hook.
I might play that Hawks play. I really like
that.
Yeah,
Wise Guy's been good, so he's a good
getting
captain.
DeAndre Hunter back, good defender, good perimeter defender. The Mavs, a good 3-point shooting team, but sneakily the Hawks adding a little bit of defense there. So I like that play a lot. I might look at that. What do you got for your play?
So I'll be honest, it's a tough night. I don't want to give out Broncos plus 3.5 because no one's going to get that line. But if Teddy Bridgewater plays, I do think the Broncos are a very live dog in this game. But I would absolutely keep an eye on, as Jim, astutely pointed out a few moments ago, loose. If he's a little loose with his throw, especially if there's weather tonight, that could make things interesting. So I do think Denver's a solid play if Teddy plays, and I would definitely look to bet them, even at 2, if Bridgewater is healthy. So I'll go to the ice. Full disclosure, my plays of the days have been brutal. I think I've lost like 3 in a row and like 5 out of 6. So if you want a good play of the day, Alex is definitely the guy to tail, not me. But we're going to turn it around tonight. I think Carolina laying 20 cents on the road at Montreal is a good play in the NHL. So Montreal is 0-4. They have looked really bad. And they're a -12 goal differential. They got smoked by the Sharks last night. 5-0. Carey Price, very difficult situation. He went into the player assistance program a few weeks ago, and that usually is mental health or addiction or some kind of, off the ice issue. And we wish Carey the best. Mental health, nothing matters more than that in this world. But he's their best player. He's their goalie. He's the one that basically led them to the Stanley Cup Finals last year. And they've looked a little lost without him. Carolina's been fantastic. They're a Stanley Cup Finals contender. I won't go through the laundry list of names on offense because I can't pronounce half of them, but they are very talented. And I think Carolina, who's 2-0, plus 4 goal differential, laying a short number at Montreal. Montreal's going to be fired up because they're 0-4, but the talent discrepancy is just too big for me to ignore laying such a short number. So I'll take the Hurricanes tonight on the road at Montreal.
Okay. On the ice. I like it.
We'll see how it goes.
All right. We have 7 straight play of the day. And we are going for number 8 tonight. Yesterday, I gave out the Braves. I believe they were plus 190 something at first pitch.
Tremendous pick.
And listen, a lot of value in the bullpen game. That's why I picked it. It was kind of like a hold your nose situation, but it worked out for me. And listen, I'm going back to the well for my 8th play. I'm going Braves money line again. Can you believe they're plus money? Plus money tonight.
Who's isn't it? It's a bullpen game for the Dodgers, right?
For the Dodgers. It's a bullpen game. Max Fried on the bump for the Braves. Fried has the lowest ERA in baseball the second half of the season. He's been their best starter all season long. And listen, he's a lefty, right? 22 of the Braves outs yesterday came from lefty pitchers. So I like this matchup. I like Fried, and I think that the Braves, all the talk when you watch Sports Center or whatever, everyone's talking about how the Braves were up 3-1 last year and the Dodgers, they blew it. Listen, this is the kill shot for the Braves tonight. They're going to win it, and they're going to punch their ticket to the World Series. Braves money line is my play for them.
I'll say this. If they don't win tonight, Scherzer and Buehler are looming in 6 and 7. So
that's why they're going to go. They're going for it.
Agreed. And I think they need to be very aggressive. If Fried is rolling, don't pull him early just because he gives up a runner, on base in the 5th inning. I think the strikeout prop for Fried tonight is definitely in play. Because it was a bullpen game yesterday, I'm seeing 4.5. That's really low.
4.5 for Fried.
Yeah, because it was a bullpen game yesterday, you would imagine Atlanta is a little thin with their bullpen arms, and they're going to lean on Fried to get them deep into this game. So I think those are correlated plays.
But Smiley gave that. He went a long stretch.
He did.
He went a long stretch for him. So
I would expect Fried to go 5. And if he goes 5, he should get 1 strikeout per inning. And I think that's a good bet to make 4.5 to the over. And I think if the Braves win tonight, they're going to the World Series, right? I think if they don't win tonight, I think the Dodgers win the series, as crazy as that sounds. But it's going to be a really fun game. Kudos to Atlanta. The city's just been it's been such a rough sports, basically decade for them with Super Bowls and playoffs. And I'm pulling for Atlanta tonight. I really
am. A lot of my friends in Atlanta. It's been a rough sports
It's been a rough sports life.
Sports life for them.
Yeah, sports life. They had the World Series back in 95, but since then, a whole lot of nothing.
But here's the thing too, and this is what is surprising to me when I see. Yesterday I thought it was just a complete overreaction to how Game 3 went. But then I look at
I agree
today, and I'm like, how are the Braves plus money in this spot? I can't believe
all year.
I can't believe they're not getting any respect. Like
it's not the Braves' lack of respect; it's the over respect for the Dodgers. It's been like that all season.
What have they done to earn it in this series?
Nothing, but it's not always what you've done to earn it most recently. It's where the exposure is long term and what they've done in the past. And you're right. It is a lack of respect for Atlanta, because I think Atlanta deserves a little more respect. But the numbers say what they say, and the books make the lines, and it's our job to tell you when they're wrong. And I agree with you. I think the Braves shouldn't be underdogs tonight. I think they should be favored.
All right. Well, I'm going to be watching that. That's going to be on my main screen tonight. What's on your main screen tonight?
Always the NFL. I'll have. See, but I have two main screens. So Roku does a great job with streaming, and it's not on a big of a delay as the other stuff. So I'll have baseball on that as my secondary screen, and cable, the live feed is always the NFL. If something happens in the NFL, I want to know about it instantaneoly. So I don't need
to know about Case Keenum or Drew Lock in real
what
time.
What if Case Keenum plays great?
I can wait the 40 seconds to see Case Keenum, do what Case Keenum does. All right. Well, good luck with your plays tonight and this weekend. And everyone out there, let's listen. If you're tailing me, let me know. Because if we make it 8 straight, I don't even want to talk about it. But if we make it,
I hope you do, because that would be matching my streak, and then it would go above it, so they can give me something.
You went to 8.
I went to 7. So you're matched now, and if you get to 8, that gives me a new number to shoot for. So I'm pulling for you, bro. Good for anything that's good for Pickswise is good for me. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, bro.
That's right. All right. Good luck, everybody.